day of our live comic book reviews on Phantom Cave Reviews. And today and tonight we're going to be reviewing The Lord of the Dragon, a comic book that is issue number 1939. It is issue number 1939, as I said, and the story is The Lord of the Dragon. It's hand signed by Jeremy McPherson himself, which he is the person that did the cover art on the front and back covers. Now just look at that beautifulness. Look at that beaut. That is absolute brand spanking really good cover. And in this story, in this book, we also have The Strange Day of the Witchman, Part 2, which featured in the Part 5, featured in last night's live stream, and featured in Part 5 of the Ibis Mystery Saga. And we're going to be having a look at this book here. We're going to be having a look at issue number 1945, The Visitor. And we're also going to be having a look at issue number 1948, The True Sing Brotherhood, and The Kit and the Panther Queen. So they should be fairly fun to have a look at. This cover art is done by the legendary Glenn Lubston. Beautiful work he does. And the last cover art is done by Shane Foley. And his color is Sarge. Beautiful. So let's get this started. Let's go. And our first story is The Lord of the Dragon. The Lord of the Dragon is a 1969 Fratelli Spada story by Santino Pratesi, and it first appeared in L. Uomo Mascarato, issue number 108 in 1969, and was published by a few publications this year. And it is such a good classic 1969 story. It features a renowned part of the Phantom psychology, which is pretty much the Phantom goes into this story. He is literally in the story. He is trying to figure out what is a symbol. The Jungle Patrol plays a huge role in this story, and we're going to be checking it out right now. Okay, so the Jungle Patrol, at the headquarters of the Jungle Patrol, any evidence pertaining to the murder of this native are examined in an attempt to find clues. So there's this native that has been murdered in broad daylight by these two people who are from this particular Chinese gang. And at the time, they are in Bengala. They're in Bengala, and we see that there's one clue left behind, and that there's this dragon symbol. There's this dragon symbol, and the Jungle Patrol doesn't know where this dragon symbol and this symbol symbolizes. So Colonel Weeks is going to send out Lieutenant Wells to try and figure out and try and get any theories to work on this particular symbol and try and work it out for himself. So Lieutenant Wells goes to this particular well-known estate and talks to this young lady here. And she gives him some very, very important information regarding this particular gang that is heavily involved in this story. And in giving most of that information to the lieutenant and to the Jungle Patrol, she pretty much tells him what this symbol symbolizes, who this symbol might be coming from, and what she receives after all of that information is a good. Now we're talking that at the end of 1960s. Unfortunately, she receives a slap to the face. Now, when this story was published, it's 1969, and there's literally no reason to be given a good old slap to another person's face, in particular a female's face, because that's like saying that if that was to happen in the modern day era, and somehow it was brought onto the news and people would be given a good old fuss about it, and for good reason. They would be given a good old fuss about it for a good reason, because if you were to, I don't know, slap a person on the face and it being a female, you would have to not be a very, very good person, and you'd be pretty much be going somewhere else and not going to a very, very bad place. Very, very bad place. And you would deserve to be going to that very, very bad place. Because it's not a really good thing and not a really good look for you. And it's not a very, very good thing obviously it's not a good thing to see in comic books. But we're probably talking 1969, but still it's not a very good excuse for including it into a Phantom comic book in this day and age, let alone it being in 1969. But that's only one panel, and we move on. And then we see that these natives are afraid of this particular boat, and they think it's a dragon. They think this armored cladded dragon has fire-breathing powers and is potentially wreaking havoc on the Jungle Patrol and the jungle natives themselves. And the Phantom wants to try and find out who is behind this. What is this dragon? There's no such thing as dragons. There's just jungle superstitions. And a lot of people and a lot of Phantom stories tend to play on those superstitions and say, like, you've got a native who thinks that the witch doctors are actually real and will try and cause havoc. There's heaps of stories involving witch doctors and all that sort of stuff. And there's heaps of stories with superstitious elements in it. And the Phantom, I think, goes very, very well with superstitions. But to a point, he goes very, very well to it. But in the other regions, he's not a superstitious character. He just sometimes leans on fear to try and get the stuff done. So he obviously, Mr. T, the dude that is running this, the Chinese dude that is running this gang, isn't very happy. They fled to a particular island. The Phantom escapes from his captors, and by the end of this story, he figures out and stops this gang from doing illegal activities, and the Jungle Patrol he allows the Jungle Patrol to clean it all up and think that the Jungle Patrol were the ones that actually did the hard work, when the Phantom, he sort of did a lot of the work, but he made sure that the people that had started this case got the recognition that they deserved. And now we also have another story called The Phantom, The Strange Day of the Witchman, Part 2, by Shane Foley, and it was originally done in 2022, and it was originally published in 2023. And as I was saying, with witch doctors, this is a perfect example of how you can pretty much include witch doctors into your stories. And supernatural themes. Don't get me wrong with those supernatural themes. They are in this story for the good old throwdowns. And so there's this crazy person again, and he's battling the Phantom, and the Phantom thinks he's seen a snake. And this story was, if you are just coming in late, or if you're just watching on the rewind or on the replay, this story, the first part of this story, is in the 5th part of the Ibis Mystery book that was published by Few Publications in 2023, and we had a look at that story yesterday, or in the first day of these live comic book reviews. We had a look at the first story, and there'll be a card up here somewhere. And this story pretty much follows on from the last story and so on. And there's this crazy dude. He obviously kidnaps a couple of female characters. He goes and tries to destroy the Phantom with this big hypnotical snake. The Phantom's having none of it because there's all this smoke around, and that's influencing what he's actually seen and what's actually real and what's not real. And then the little people come. Yes, there we have a cameo. We have a cameo of some of the little people. Yes, an element that Lee Falk originally incorporated in his Phantom universe, and it's very, very nice to see that the little people are involved in this storyline. And I extremely love to see that the little people and these types of characters that Lee Falk originally created for a specific purpose are getting reintroduced into a original Few the Phantom comic book story. And Shane Foley is the brains behind this story. He has done an incredible job with this story, including the art is just incredible. Incredible, I say. Incredible! Not to do with Incredible Hulk or anything to do with that. So the Phantom, he rescues these girls. They go back to wherever they come from, and then the Phantom, well, he leaves for the home and he gets back safely. But he wonders and he ponders, what actually did I see? Did I actually see a snake? Did I actually see little people on hawks, on birds flying? We will just have to see, and we'll just have to see the mysteries of the Rattle. And the little people were finally solved by the 21st Phantom in the 46th Sunday story, The Rattle, from 1957. The secret of Terebus was revealed also by the 21st Phantom in The Veiled Lady, in the 67th Sunday story which spanned from 1965 to 1966, and in the beginning and the wedding of the 9th Phantom was recorded in the 137th Sunday story, The Fourth Son, in the 1991/92 story, The Fourth Son. And we also have a little promo for the new Phantom's World cards. If you want to be able to purchase these cards, you can go to this website right here, and it is www.phantomcomic.com.au, and you can get the entire set for $33 plus postage within Australia. And they are pretty cool. That card right there is featured on the back of a Roy Feldman story and artwork by him as well, and that was published in 2016. And I actually made note of that I made note of that in, I think, the second season of The Enthusiast. I'm pretty sure I did, and it's on the channel somewhere. But just look at that amazing cover. Also, the colors for this cover, and the colorist that Jeremy McPherson uses is Thomas Mason, and I'm pretty sure he's on Instagram as well. And let's get into this next comic book and this next story called The Visitor. This visiting story is from issue number 1945. Few publications. And as I said earlier, the cover art is done by Glenn Lubston. Amazing work he does. Absolutely amazing work. And this story is from a Sunday. Yes, it's from a Sunday page. Babu Dan is on the hunt at sundown. Babu Dan, elder warrior of the Bandar Master Tracker, a familiar figure on the dark trail. Phantom, in Bandar language. Bandar tongue. Good evening, great friend. How goes it with you? No answer. A ghost who walks, so unlike him. The beginning, the visitors. The beginning, the visitors. And I was pretty sure that last year, in last year's Christmas special, I was quite sure that we already have seen this story before. But I had a look, and if anyone out in the comic comment section can answer that question, they can if they want to, and comment down below in the comment section. Have you already seen this story appear in a few publications, comic books already? And I think, my opinion is, I think it has already appeared in the Phantom comic books published by few publications. I may be wrong, but I think it already has. So, Babu Dan tells of this story that he sees this phantom roaming the woods, but there was no answer. And it's possible. Of course it's possible. He's man like all of us. We forget that the great weight of the legend, he alone bears it. What I mean is, you encountering the phantom on the trail, that's not possible. He's not here. The phantom's not in the deep woods. Who did Babu Dan meet on the trail? They say. In the morning, this quite a welcome home, but look at those faces. I can't tell whether they're happy or see me or not. So this story travels a visitor. Who is this visitor? Why is he here? And why does he roam the trails like the phantom does? And why is he already in the costume? Is there two phantoms? Is there only one? Is there one even passing by from the past? We'll just have to wait and see. And this is the story. This is the story that we have a complete overhaul. A complete overhaul of every generation of the Phantom and their Phantom costumes. They pretty much are now accurate with every time period that has been available and every time period that the Phantom has occupied through the Phantom universe. And now, when this Sunday page was fully complete, and when this particular Sunday page was being published, every person, probably including myself, were just out in an outroar. They were like literally just saying, like, you can't change the Phantom's costume. You can't change how he looks. But yet they did. And I think one of the remarks that I made when they first did this and when we were first seeing it, it was probably on the enthusiast, or it was probably on one of my other series that I've since completed and really haven't really returned to, which it could have been on the Phantom, this week's Phantom Cave news. We talk about blah 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 blah. It could have been on that, or it could have been on An Enthusiast, and we saw this happening, and people were as I said, on an absolute uproar. People did not like it. They're understandable that they didn't like, and I understand that. And to a point, you can't change what the Phantom looks like, but does it marry up with all the historical years that the Phantom has fictionally been around for?Maybe, but throughout the last 80 odd years, Lee Falk had been creating this creating this character called the Phantom, and only a couple of years ago, we have like a subtle costume change, and we see most of the generations gone past from the Phantoms. We see all the Phantoms generations gone past, and we see a subtle costume change to do with the history and the years that they may have been in fictionally. And a lot of people weren't happy about it. And I reckon to a point I probably wasn't going to be that happy about it, but a lot of the traditional Lee Falkists weren't that happy about it. And out there in the YouTube universe, were you not that happy about them subtly changing the way the Phantom looks? Were you not happy about that, or were you fine with it? And we move on. So he pretty much tells people, oh, you can come and have a look at my extraordinary organized collection of Phantom costumes. So people come and have a look, and they come in and have a look, and then he's telling a story about this potential visitor. Their testimony, they greeted him and expressed surprise. No one had ever seen the Phantom leaving the deep woods without his story. His horsey story. Come on, Brad. The visitor said nothing. His empty glaze, devoid of all humanity, chilled the blood of the men who beheld it. Their testimony would lead to the first discovery concerning the mysterious visitor. That whatever it is, it's not a ghost. Minutes after the Bandar men encountered the visitor, the true Phantom appeared on the trail. Two reliable witnesses told the Phantom his doppelganger had walked by mere minutes earlier. Confronted with this mystery, my ancestor did what we all would do. He investigated. The visitor had walked by. If it's no ghost, it left footprints exactly like my own in every way. My stride, my weight. Any master tracker of the Bandar would say, these prints are mine. Which led to the second discovery. The visitor is no ghost, but he vanishes like one. Dun dun dun! And the Chronicles of the Sixth Phantom. The year 1664, as evening fell, my ancestor saddled his horse, bound for the coast. By morning, a Bandar girl waved as he rode out. Then something extraordinary happened on the otherwise unremarkable evening of the deep woods. A second visitor had appeared. Or, if you like, an entity that had once come in the goose of the third Phantom had reappeared as a doppelganger of his great-grandson. The girl watched the sixth Phantom ride off, then saw his doppelganger standing in the skull cave. Most children would flee in terror, having seen what the girl saw. This one felt that same very natural fear. Nonetheless, she followed. And she sees, wrote in this very chronicle, you see in my hands tonight, when a man not of this world as we understand it writes in the chronicles of the current Phantom, sixth Phantom, that is. What the sixth Phantom's doppelganger wrote in the chronicle of the Skull Cave. Words from a pen held in no mortal hand. Why, it's Latin. The visitor left a message in a dead language. Message? Why, a message? Well, of course, it's a message. What else would it be? The visitor's grocery list. The fact that it was there, in Skull Cave, writing anything at all. The Bandar met this alarm with action. They went to the Skull Cave, they met the doppelganger, and just like that, it disappeared. From the first line, the visitor wrote, the sixth Phantom knew what he was looking at. Ridiculous vise languidic autum lecemptua. I can't read that. Extraordinary. These immortal words have been written in my own hand. The visitor had written a poem from Roman antiquity. 91 words the sixth Phantom had been made to memorize as a boy. From the Odes of the Horror Age, book number 2, Ode 10, on the difference between courage and recklessness. In his boyhood, the sixth Phantom thought he was the equal of a master lion slayer, or the bear of the Bandar. He had seconds left to live. The fifth Phantom in action saves the sixth Phantom from potentially killing himself. Indeed, the line would have come to an end on that present day through some other son of the fifth Phantom. But more of this ancient Roman verse, old friend. Rubus ut anguetus animovsus atqua fortis appare. The sixth Phantom, one of the greatest of our line, but he struggled all of his life to learn the difference between courage and foolishness. And then we have flashbacks from the Seymour Barry years. And they go a bit like this. He'd smash an infamous gang of cutthroats. In reform, those most capable of it, and recruit them as the founding corps of the famed Jungle Patrol. And that's how he met his future wife, Natala of Navaria. Oh, I know this story, darling. That's why the visitor appeared. That reminds the Phantom of the poem, so he'd live long enough to marry Natala and have the son they had. And then the visitor vanished. The 12th Phantom would never see it again, but he'd soon learn this new fact of the phenomenon. There's nothing that confines the visitor to the deep woods. You! Stop! Where are you? Where you are? The visitor had vanished. The 12th Phantom, he worked his way through a warren of dangerous streets. And when he returned, is someone there? This ancestor of mine would not only see the visitor, he would speak with it. The torch remains the form moving towards the 16th Phantom in the dark. The 16th Phantom has never seen a weapon drawn that fast. He and the visitor were mirror images in that regard. Who are you? By gods, it's you, isn't it? The visitor. I know the tales told of the creature in the chronicles of my forefathers. What have you come to add to your mystery this time? The 16th Phantom had always felt the visitor must be one entity, the same entity appearing as the Phantom of the time. In 1621, 1664, 1775, and now 1854. He believed it all the more when the visitor spoke. The visitor told the origin story, the story of the founding of the Phantom legend. Wait, don't go. What is your nature? Tell me. Why do you come here? What do you want of us? With not another word, the visitor was gone. For reasons no phantom yet has fathomed. There you have it, yet another mystery on this land where you and I were born. Tell the tale as you heard phantoms of old tell it here tonight. And then heaps of people are telling their tales of the phantom they had seen. Then most of its appearances have simply not been witnessed by anyone in the steep woods. In every tale told, the visitor chose to reveal itself for reasons we don't know. It was never discovered against its will. That is curious, isn't it? And at the bottom of the panel page, imagine if a killer saw the visitor appear and was unable to strike him down. The villain would tell that tale everywhere of a ghost who walks, man who cannot die. If that were to happen on my watch, the visitor wouldn't hear any complaints from me. Every phantom can use all the help he can get. Also, and then we have a witness to all that will become of us walkers in this land. Of 21 phantoms down through time, the destruction of priority, greed, cruelty, and all its forms, all my sons will follow me. Does that mean that someone's been watching the phantoms since daybreak, since he's done and foretold the prophecy and foretold the absolute oath to be the phantom? Have a good night, my friends. Thank you for coming. And then later that night, it was here when I arrived this evening. Somehow I sensed the entity intended to remain here for the duration to stay and simply observe. After a rather one-sided conversation, I went out and chained Devil. Sure enough, when I got back, the visitor was still here. As far as I can tell, all it wanted was to be here tonight, to hear of the tales from the Chronicles like everyone else. With all eyes on me this evening, the visitor was free to move about the chamber. Often the visitor stood in plain sight. It slipped into the shadows whenever our guests were moving about the chamber. Shall we try to speak to it again? And then, I have a feeling the visitor's about to be on its way back to wherever it came from. The devil tries to get to this hall of costumes in time, but an animal spirit will understand this. Make way, Diana. And lastly, the entity called the visitor. Does Devil know what it is? Devil defends the deep woods against a creature from another realm. Now that's what I call an exciting evening. Bracing, what wasn't it? Oh, leave it to you, darling. What if the visitor's still here? What if it's always here? What if it mostly doesn't show itself in a form we can see? And does this visitor have anything to do with the current daily script? Well, we saw after this adventure that there was this mysterious entity that we saw it a couple of years ago, and it was where the Phantom, he was going towards his we were going towards I think the Gravelines prison, and he was having a dream, and there was this particular scene where there was this skeleton, and the skeleton was like, he was watching the Phantom sleeping, and there was the Phantom, then we find out the Phantom was actually having a nightmare, and then he goes to the Graveline prison, and then today or yesterday, we saw that Kit Walker, the 21st Phantom son, actually came back, and we don't know what happened to Sivana. We do not know what happened to Sivana Devi. Did the Kit Walker's 21st Phantom son tell Sivana Devi that Jampa is up in the mountains? We will find out on Monday the 18th of December, what might happen, and we might find out in the next couple of weeks whether this story, the current daily script, will possibly come to an end. Because as I've talked about I haven't talked about this daily script for a good while. It might have been for a good couple of weeks, but with Mike Manley obviously injured, and Jeff Weigel taking on the daily script and also doing the Sunday script, the Sunday page as well, it leaves out to think that there's a possibility of this daily story, this current daily script, coming to an end. And I think a couple of weeks ago, when Mike Manley, it might have been in November, Mike Manley wasn't great, and he still isn't quite great, and there was other people taking just helping him out, and then we saw Jeff Weigel take over, and he was still helping Mike Manley out, and there was something along these lines, and it said that when Jeff Weigel took over, there could have been only 8 weeks left until the end of this current saga. And we saw today that Kit Walker came back with, yesterday that Kit Walker came back with 2 horses, and it leaves out the thinking that maybe Sivana has gone to the mountains, and maybe we might find that out this week on the Phantom daily script. It just makes you ponder what could happen. Yeah, what could happen. And then we have this other story called The Mysterious Fog. And there's these pirates, they're thinking they're having a good time. There's a skull mark, one of them has a skull mark, they're telling all this story. And then, this mysterious underwater thing happens, and a sharp left, and it's like the Phantom is attacking this boat, but it's all a dream, and all these 3 criminals wake up in a cell, or a gathering of people. In the last panel, they say, and now I'm sitting here in a bum's village with you. That's exactly what happened to me, and me too. And now they're all relating, and will we have an uprising of everything to do with prison people? Probably not. To do with the Phantom, he's probably sitting there. Oh yeah, I took out a couple of bad guys today, and I think it's pretty good. Yes, so we have our last comic book that I'm going to be reviewing for you tonight, and it is issue number 1948. The story is the True Singh Brotherhood, Kit and and it also has the Kit and the Panther Clan. The cover art for this issue is by none other than Shane Foley and his colorist Sarge. Oh yes, and that's the back cover there as well. So let's have a look at this. Another amazing story. Okay, the script for this story was done by Andreas Eckerson, and the art has been supplied by Janice Auden. True Sing Brotherhood, first published by Egmont, Scandinavia, Phantoman, in Phantoman issue number 25 and 26. They were a bigger number and was published in 2021 and is now getting published by a few publications in the year 2023. Okay, if you're just joining us, we reviewed these. We've reviewed issue number 1939 and issue number 1945, The Visitor and the Lord of the Dragon. Quite recently. Oh yes, it's quite recently, like the 40-minute mark. Okay, now in this story. Okay, we have a character that we've got this potential assassination plot. Ah yes, good old assassination plots. A prologue. Shortly after Sandal Singh was elected Bengala's president. Excuse me, madam. You and the gentleman need an appointment to meet with the president. Stay out of it. We tried to make an appointment. That's okay, Jamila. Let them in. And that is page number 3. Well, what can I do for you, Kaya? You know very well why I'm here. From the very beginning of this charade, you forbade all Sing pirates to be pirates. You must realize what is at stake, right? I cannot risk anyone being captured and having connections to me. So this Kaya happens to strike it out on her own. She is now with she started her own brotherhood, and it's called, as it's the Phantom comic is titled, the True Sing Brotherhood. And it so happens that these Jungle Patrol women are on the patrol, and they're trying to figure out what's happening. Their jeep sort of mucks up on themselves. The people that are about these True Jungle Patrol, True Sing Brotherhood, part of the True Sing Brotherhood take this vehicle. There's this horse. There's these natives. Back away, otherwise the next bullet might go in her skull. What a shot. No one can shoot like that. Except, could it be? Alina, you truly are their best sniper. You saved their lives. And they wipe it all up. Jungle Patrol. The next day, the patrol woman did an excellent, albeit unconventional job. I'll leave it to the colonel to decide on the appropriate disciplinary action. I'm not a person who follows the regulations all the time either, but their report on Colonel Werriby's addition was really disturbing. The smugglers didn't carry a bomb, but radioactive waste to make a bomb extra deadly. The Rhodian terrorists I encountered had similar plans. Maybe the same gang, or does someone else want to attack Morristown? And that was published in CFU publication 17, issue number 1763, and that was published in 2016. At this lonely dock, there's a talking. We're at the Jungle Patrol bureaucrats. The Phantom is back. He's in a cell. He's got out. He's gone to this office. What the? I'm sorry to disturb you, gentlemen, but I give you my word that this is an extremely urgent matter. Greatest internship ever. I think someone is trying to bring radioactive material into Bengala. What international smugglers and the Ghost Coast Guard has tightened their security and doesn't let in even the smallest dinghy without having the papers in order. If they arrive here, do you check for radiation, any radiation? We do not even have to get on board for it. The sensors are sensitive enough to detect even the minimal radiation at a distance. And you have not received any warnings recently. No, nothing unusual. Later that night, the Phantom is hopefully going to get on this freighter. He questions this other person that's on this freighter and says, "Don't move or you'll be having eaten your last binada." The Phantom, have we met? Sorry, I made so many pirates. Not everyone is particularly memorable. Have we? Yes. Many times I belong to Kaya Singh's crew. I know what you're doing. Tell me where Kaya and the cargo are, just like that. How disloyal do you think I am to my captain? Believe it or not, but it's her best chance. If you know who I am, you also know that I'm not rest until you have all been punished. A fate worse than death. The voice of the Phantom freezes blood, old jungle saying. So, Kaya is up to no good. She has something with her. She's wanting a ransom. She's wanting to get rid of the enemy of the Singh Brotherhood. She doesn't do that. She thinks that the Phantom's dead. That's not the case. And then she's nearly ambushed by this crazy doctor. The Singh Brotherhood, she's ambushed and betrayed. And then the Jungle Patrol say, "To hell with jurisdiction, charge. The rules be far, I'm ending this now." And the Phantom's back. The Jungle Patrol is coming in by all sides. Will Kaya resist? Will Kaya survive? And she's running away. And the police have taken care of all the pirates but Kaya. What will happen to her? And then, suddenly, so she fooled you too. That's nothing to brag about. You're right about what it means to be a true Singh pirate. Sandal Singh is a power-hungry terrorist who needs to be taught a lesson. The true Singh Brotherhood is dead. You're too late, whoever you are. And then we find out it is the one and only. My name is Salah, and I'm not talking about a brotherhood. I'm talking about a sisterhood. And have we not seen female gangs in Leigh Fogg's Phantom stories before? Yes, we have. Very, very many times. And that is the end. Will there be another story that goes with this story? Possibly. Very, very much so. I reckon there will be. In the future there will be. And I reckon that this art that was recently supplied by Janice Autumn is off the charts. It's so damn good. And it is just so beautiful to look at. It just speaks and it just feels like you're in a 1940s noir film. Pretty much just feels like that. Black and white, someone smoking. Every single time you have a look at black and white chapter serial movies from the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. You look at black and white films from those eras, and if it always has something to do with noir, you always find someone having a good old drag on either their cigarette or their cigar, and it always makes great art, and it always makes great photos. Always makes great photography. Okay, we have this new story by... who's it done by? The text and art is done by Carl Johnson, and it's called The Kit and the Panther Queen. think this story was intended to be in colour, but it's been published in black and white, which is a bit of a shame. It's a little short story. Kit Walker meets a unexpected guest called the Panther, and this other guest who tames this panther, and Kit says, "Wait, who are you?" And I must have fallen asleep, and no, if I have it somewhere. Here it is. Is this your mysterious rescuer? Gasp, it is her. Who is she, Moz? Here it is, Queen Morkimi, the Panther Queen. The temple you found was her sanctuary. She was worshipped there as a god by her people after her death. That was 700 years ago, Kit. And that story ends on the 32nd page. And then we also have some letters, comments, the Phantom Forum. If you want to send a suggestion or have something that you want to ask Dudley Hogarth, you can email those suggestions, and those feedbacks are always welcome at dudley@fewpublications.com.au, and if you're very, very lucky, you might get a Few Crew badge. And we have the Folio 9 is here. I have that in my collection. Might have to grab it out at some point. It's there somewhere. I've looked at it. It is fantastic. It's magnificent. You get 13 A3 prints from a cream of Australia's best comic book artists, including Marcelo Bates, Chewie Chan, Shane Foley, Glenn Ford, Matt Kime, Antonio Lemos, one of my all-time personal favourites, Glenn Lubston, Jeremy McPherson, that he signed one of my comic books at Supernova, Lauren Marshall, she's fairly new, she's also a very, very good person to meet at Supernova, Paul Mason, Jason Paulos, Alex Troop, he's amazing, and the talented, very, very talented Grange Wallace. You can either phone 029261 8122 or order online from phantomcomic.com.au, and that is $95 from Few Publications, their website, again, phantomcomic.com.au. And if you do not want to miss out on a Phantom comic and receive them in the mail, they have another ad here which you can subscribe to the Phantom for $208 per year. I have done it. I did it, I think, in 2022. They come in mint condition, so I can actually say that they come in mint condition. And they normally come like in a brown mailing type of hardish letters, so your comic pretty much stays in shape, which is very, very important. It's very, very important. And it's $208 per year. You can also have the option of getting these file cards, which I have a few of them. I haven't got the recent ones, but that's all right. They have 26 comics, including 5 specials and an annual, which includes the Christmas special and the yearly annual, which is always exciting, and you can subscribe online at www.phantomcomic.com.au. And that is what we've got. So we just reviewed 3 Phantom comics from 2023. I hope you enjoyed this live comic book review of these 3 amazing Phantom comics, and tomorrow I will be back with some more live Phantom comic book reviews, so stay tuned for more on the channel. And I think tomorrow we're going to be reviewing 2 comic books. Give a little preview here. I've got a lot to review in the next couple of days. So we're going to be reviewing, tomorrow we're going to be reviewing issue number 1947, which is all the stories that it contain and are relevant to the Daily Script story by Lee Falk called The Tea, and all the other stories that are also in this is they also have a Julie Walker news adventure called Fury by Australian Phantom artist and writer. And then we're also going to be having a look at The Phantom issue number 1946, and it is the New Hope plus a new story called The Ghost Walkers. So that should be interesting. And as always, keep Phantom caving, stay safe, and you will see me here tomorrow on the channel with 2 more live comic book reviews. There will be a couple of new specials coming out in the next couple of weeks, as everyone knows, and there also will be, I've already recorded them, the 2023 edition of the best Phantom comics throughout the year, and also a giant size Phantom version of that as well. So stay tuned for all of those very, very special videos coming up to the end of the year. And as always, stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time on the Phantom Cave Reviews YouTube channel. Bye! And I hope you enjoyed tonight.